Hey everyone, Harshit Tyagi here. So agents are amazing. From automating content creation to developing autonomous software engineers, agentic workflows or multi-agent applications are quickly becoming a norm now. And there are two leading multi-agent frameworks that you all must have heard of. One is Autogen from Microsoft Research, and second one is CrewAI. And there have been a lot of confusions and questions about which one is better, which one should you pick for your use case, which is easier to learn, and so on. So I decided to put these two frameworks against each other to see which one outperforms the other across a diverse range of use cases. Now, to evaluate them, I've defined a bunch of parameters like ease of use, quality, speed, scalability, customization, code execution, so on and so forth. So let's find out who comes out on top. All right, so the first test is to assess how easy it is to get started with each of these frameworks. And to assess that, I have opened up their getting started web pages, and I will simply follow the instructions, read up the material that they have provided, and we'll see if the code runs in the first go, how easy it is, and are the things that they have explained making sense to a newbie who has come onto the page and who wants to try this out. So here I have my IDE ready. I have two folders, Autogen and CrewAI. In the interest of time, I have already installed the PyAutogen package and CrewAI Python package that they have provided. So my terminal over here is ready with my virtual environment, all of those things. The setup is done. All I need to do is see how easy it is to set these up. All right. So first of all, we'll work with Autogen. Okay, here I have no code execution. So this is the simplest example that they have provided. In their getting started guide, they've explained the main features and the quick start guide. And let me just quickly copy their code. I'll paste it over here. Okay, this is done. The LLM config. So Autogen basically runs using the configuration. I have this model. Okay, then they have provided this API key. So since I have my OpenAI API key in my .env file, I'll just quickly from .env import load.env. So I'll just quickly import this and change this to get env. So I'll load the environment, which is going to capture all my keys, etc. from this .env file over here. Okay, this is done. And then I have this user proxy .initiate chat. Okay, this is done. The message, this is the initial message. Tell me a joke about NVIDIA and Tesla stock prices. Let's quickly check this, whether this runs fine or not. So I'll run this. Okay, so tell me a joke about NVIDIA, Tesla stock prices. Why don't NVIDIA stock prices ever play hide and seek? Okay, because no matter where they hide, the prices always goes up. Okay, great. So this is good. This has started running with just OpenAI API key. Now let's start off with the CrewAI getting started guide. And here, I think this is fairly simple. They have described, a decent amount about how Autogen works. So this is good. The only thing is, even though this is the getting started guide, I think introduction is probably the first thing that I would recommend anybody to start going through, is what I have realized. So you tell me in the comments. I personally think that the tutorial section and here also the introduction, this is probably a better getting started guide as compared to what they have given over here. Coming to CrewAI, I've already installed. And here, define your agents with distinct roles, backstories, enhanced capabilities. Again, a lot of things over here, and a huge code snippet. I would probably not prefer having such a long code snippet in my getting started guide. And here also you see that they have added these Serper API key, OpenAI API key, so on and so forth. So there are like too many dependencies that I will have to meet, and then only I'll be able to run this. So the serper.dev API key, this is again to provide internet capability to your agentic workflow. This is why it's needed. Now I'll have to go set that up. So getting started probably isn't that great. And here again, I would not start with an example too complex like this. Here you can see I have researcher agent and then writer agent and manager agent. And starting off with so many agents in the first getting started example itself, I don't think is the best approach here. So you let me know in the comments if it made sense to you. But for me, I don't think that this is a good getting started guide. At this point itself, I would leave it because I don't want to go get a Serper API key at this point. I would have loved to simply, get started with this with just an LLM. Like I had in Autogen an assistant and a user proxy. That would have sufficed. So when it comes to getting started, I would say Autogen 1 and CrewAI 0. Now, after getting started, you'll start developing applications. And with agentic applications, internet search ability is very crucial. So the second test is how to add this internet search capability to our agentic application. Now, there are many search APIs that are available in the market. There are many API providers like SerperDev, there is Tavily, there's something called as Exa. For our use case, we are using Tavily. So I looked up on Google and I wanted to see how I can use Tavily with Autogen. And they have this one page in their documentation where they have used Tavily Python. So I followed this documentation. To work with Tavily, you'll have to get an API key from their website. So if you look up Tavily, this is the guide that I'm using. Connect your LLM to the web. Coming back to our application here, first of all, I've set up my config list. So GPT 4.0 and GPT 3.5 Turbo, two models that I have provided in my config list. Then Tavily client, I've instantiated a Tavily client, added a search tool, which gets the query, and then it searches the web for that particular query and then gets the response. This is my React prompt, the prompt that is given to my system, and then it starts looking up for the answers. React prompt message. So the question that I'm going to ask, this is basically just a formatted string, nothing else. So this is my main prompt, and the question that I'm asking is going to be added over here. That's all. Now, once this is set up, I have my assistant, the system. Okay. Only use the tools that you have been provided. Reply terminate. So this is the prompt, my config list, and my cache seed. This is my user proxy agent, and this also has got human input mode, never. You can, if you want human input, then you can put it to always. User, this is done. Max consecutive reply, this is done. Then I need to simply register my internet search tool, and I have this register function over here. The search tool that I've defined above. Who is going to call it? The assistant is going to use this. Executor, user proxy. So this over here is my executor for this. Name, search tool. So I'm keeping the name same. Description, searches the web for the given query. That's all. And then I simply initiate my chat with my question, which is what is gum loop? Okay, this is my main question that I'm asking. So I'll start running this Python Autogen 02 underscore main.py. Let's run this. And now Gumloop is a Y Combinator backed new company which allows you to automate different workflows. So here you see they've searched and they've given us this observation. Gumloop connects with dozens of platforms, allows users to request new integrations, so on and so forth. So they've given, so I can see that they have looked up on the internet and then they have summarized the results. This is not something which is available with LLMs. So the search functionality, the internet capability is available. It was fairly easy for me to integrate it. The search function, I could create it very easily, and at the same time register it with the right caller. And this documentation also helped me quite a bit. So it was fairly easy for me to integrate here. Let's look at CrewAI. Now CrewAI, it's built on top of LangChain. So whenever you're creating a new tool, you'll have to use a bunch of decorators to define the tools and then be able to use them in your code. So I wanted to use the same Tavily client over here. And for this, I had to import langchain.tools. Okay, this is the tool decorator, which turns this function into a tool that my agent can use. Then I defined an agent. This is my assistant agent over here. Role is search assistant. Answer the question asked. You are a good search assistant. So I provided a backstory, verbose, the tool I added over here, which I have defined over here. Then I need to provide a task, which this agent performs. So this is my task. Answer the question asked. So I will take the question from the user at the beginning itself. So this is the input, which is going to come from the user. And then I am kicking off my crew in this manner. There's only one agent and one task that agent performs. So here we'll do Python CrewAI 02 underscore main.py. Okay, so this will ask a question. So let me say, what is gum loop? Okay, I'll provide the same question to CrewAI as well. And you can see that this has also looked up on the internet. Okay, so search functionality, the tool is working fine, and the response is here. Okay, gum loop is a platform. Okay, so they have given us a good answer as well, given us some references as well, which is nice. Okay, blog page, Y Combinator. Okay, so it has looked up a bunch of URLs and then given us this summary. So this is great, and I think that CrewAI does a really good job when it comes to having an intuitive design in terms of the code that you're writing. So it's fairly easy. I knew that, okay, this is my agent, which will have this tool capability. The tool is basically like a skill that a particular person, an employee would have. And then this is the task that they would perform. The input is taken as a formatted string and was fairly easy for me to come to this stage and execute it in this particular manner. So this was simple. I think in both the cases, Autogen has this register function, which I found very intuitive. It was easy for me to play around with it and get this functionality added very easily. And CrewAI I felt was a bit easier for me, but since it depends on LangChain and it does have its own tools as well, but I don't see them working as well as the LangChain tools. So I personally, if you are trying to define your own tools, you'll have to use this LangChain community or LangChain tools and then define your tools, which will give you the answer in the required format. So this is one such drawback, I would say, which CrewAI has when it comes to defining tools. So let's come to the third test, where we want to build something with multiple agents, more than 2 agents. And for this, I've picked up a very simple use case of writing a blog post on a given topic. Now, when it comes to writing a blog post, there's one writer, there's the reviewer who's going to review the written blog post and provide feedback. And once the feedback is provided, then the editor is going to make the final changes and proofread it and finalize the blog post. That's it. So there are 3 agents: writer, reviewer, and editor. And I have implemented this in both Autogen and CrewAI. Autogen, since it provides a more conversable format where you are conversing, one response goes on to the other recipient, other agent. So this way, the process has been very seamless. The task is defined over here. This is the message, the prompt, whatever you want to call it. Dictionary is as it is. Writer, I've defined. So all of these are assistant agents. I have a writer. Then I've defined a reviewer, editor, and lastly, I have this user proxy. So user proxy is basically the user who's going to initiate the chat. Then I use this initiate chats function where I have multiple agents listed. First of all, I'll give the message to the writer to write the task, write the blog post on the given topic. And the topic that I've chosen is linear algebra in deep learning. So you have to write a blog post on that. Then the reviewer is going to get the written blog post, and the editor finally will get the feedback and will update the written blog post. Okay, so let's quickly run this Autogen 03. And here we're going to mainly check for the quality. So writer to user proxy. Okay, unlocking. So this was the initial blog post. And then user proxy to review the work done. Okay, this was the context. And then the reviewer to user proxy review. Your work is effectively highlight. Okay, and then this review was given 7 points, and we had a structured, so revised version. This is the format, and then finally we got the final blog post in a much more structured manner. So this worked out great in a markdown format. We got this. Now the same thing I implemented in CrewAI, where because the classes and the structure of the library is such that it is intuitive to understand. So that's why I feel beginners and in fact like most people, if they're getting started with developing agentic application, would prefer CrewAI. So you have the writer agent. So this is my agent class where you have defined the role, the goal, backstory. Similarly, reviewer, editor, then you define each of their tasks, and then finally put them all together and run this off. So this way, CrewAI, I think, is more structured. They have given terminology, they've defined, they've templatized all of those things. So that's why it would become easier for people to remember everything when it comes to running a crew of agents with CrewAI as compared to Autogen. Autogen is slightly more raw, and people who need more flexibility, customization, I think would prefer to go with this. But for this particular use case, let's quickly run this for CrewAI as well. Python CrewAI 03 main.py. So if you see, the verbosity, the logs are better in CrewAI because it has been structured, and those sort of details and what you are getting in your terminal, all of those things actually add value, and they help you understand what is going on under the hood at each step. So this way, I think CrewAI would stand out in its own ways. And finally, we have the blog post. Okay, this is the final blog post, linear algebra, the cornerstone. Okay, this is the blog post. So both of these frameworks have done a decent job, and CrewAI being more templatized for such simple use cases, where you have multiple agents, one after another, I would say go ahead and use CrewAI. It'll be easier for you to set up, and you won't forget a thing. And Autogen, even though this is also not too complex, I think they are pretty much on the same level when it comes to simplicity. But because of the templatized nature of CrewAI, I would prefer to solve simple but hierarchical or sequential processes using CrewAI. Now, the next test is very crucial. Most of the agentic applications and the kind of problems that you would want to solve would need code execution ability as well, which is a big divide between these two frameworks. Autogen has this flexibility. It provides this customization that you can execute code. The system can also execute code, write code, as well as execute it. But CrewAI can only write code for you, but it cannot execute that code as of now. I don't know if they're working on it or not, but code execution is one of the most important flexibility that I, as a software engineer, would need to have. So in order to implement code execution, they have provided a good documentation, a dedicated page for it, where you can see that there are multiple ways of executing code. And if you see, they have Docker execution, you have command line execution, and local execution. Local execution using local command line code executor. Then you have Docker, and then you have, for if you're running your code in Jupyter Notebook, so Jupyter code executor as well. Now, I have Docker installed, so I'm going to be using Docker command line executor. Here you can see I've imported this. I am carrying out a financial analysis task. Okay, I'll show you what sort of financial analysis is possible in both of them. Okay, here in CrewAI, this is going to give me a trading strategy, but it won't be able to plot anything. It won't be able to execute any code, but it can give me Python code for a strategy. So it can write a .py file, which also might not be completely correct. On the other hand, I have Autogen. If I'll ask that code this or give me this plot or plot the stock prices of this particular stock, then it'll write the code and it will also execute it. Not only that, it also encountered error, resolved them, and then ran the complete script successfully, gave me the artifacts, the plots, the PNG files, and it was great. So this is my code executor agent. It's a conversible agent, which we have imported from here. Okay, the executor is a Docker command line executor, which has this Python 3.10 slim. This is a Docker image that it pulls, within which it will run the code. Okay, so please continue. If everything is done, please reply terminate. Okay, then I have a code writer. So this will write the code and this will execute it. Okay, I have two agents, writer and executor. Now the next thing is, over here, if you see, I've imported date time. Okay, this is just to capture today's date. This is my final prompt, the message, the actual task. I have given it a task to create a plot of showing stock gains, YTD, year to date, for Nvidia and Tesla. Make sure the code is in Markdown. The code is in Markdown code block. Save the figure to a file which is called, and I've given the file name. Let me quickly run this for you. this is my final message, and I am initiating the conversation here. Okay, Python Autogen 04 main.py. Now here you see, I have this entire code snippet. So the code writer has given me this code. Run this code, saving it in a file, this, and then executing it. This script does the following. Downloads the stock data from January 1, 2024 to June 26, calculates the percentage gain YTD for both of these stocks, and then generates a bar plot, which gets stored in this particular file. Okay, this is done. Save the script. Okay, has given me, okay, it appears Y-Finance library is not installed. So you see that there is this error that we have. Appears that this particular library is not installed. Okay, so this is going to be the case. I've hit enter because at this point I have human input mode always. So I can set it to never also, then also it'll like continue to resolve the errors on its own. So here also they've given us some steps to resolve it. I'll simply hit enter. It'll take care of all of these dependencies, these issues, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, you can see the final terminate messages over here. You can replace this update code. Okay, this is fine. The script executed successfully, provided the desired output, and it is stored over here. Now, the file actually is located inside my Docker. And if you look at this, this is the image that Autogen pulled up. These are my files. And here, my file is in my workspace. You can see YTD gains. This is the code if you want to look at the code. And this is the file that the system has generated. Now, if you want to look at this file, I have this file with me. I've downloaded this. So this is the chart that we have for NVIDIA YTD stock gains. And this is generated all on its own by Autogen, which is just fantastic. This is something that I wanted. On the other hand, when I look at CrewAI, here also, I have an analyst agent. Okay, this is the trading strategy. I know that I could not execute code in it. This is definitely one of the biggest drawbacks of CrewAI as of now. Okay, so I have a trading strategy agent, I have an execution agent, and then a risk management agent. They have their corresponding tasks to create strategy, execute planning, risk assessment, financial trading crew, finally putting them all together. And then this will do a sentiment analysis of the entire market. It'll scrape. So it has internet access. It'll scrape the data from all the websites, capture the sentiment about a particular stock, and then give you the strategy for it. So if I run this now this will, first of all, go over the internet, extract all the links where Apple's stocks information is provided, summarize it, create a strategy for it, and then execute it. So here you see, I have provided some inputs. So stock selection. So I'm looking for Apple's stock. The initial capital, $100,000. Risk tolerance is medium. Based on these input parameters, these tasks are defined. Okay. For these tasks, the trading strategy is going to be developed. Then execution planning is going to be written down for you. And then finally, the risk assessment of that particular strategy which is developed. And you will get the final strategy, your trading strategy for that particular stock. That is the output of this financial system created within your CrewAI. So this is the biggest divide over here. Autogen does a brilliant job. Whatever I'm achieving here with CrewAI, I can also achieve using Autogen. But the kind of charts, the execution, if I am able to connect with my stockbroker, place orders, do all those things as well, that's a complete autonomous system. So this is where I would say Autogen actually stands out for me. Now, the last test that I am doing is for scalability. So which one of these frameworks performs well in a production setup? And in order to test for scalability, since I have this one system, I am testing it with concurrent requests. Okay, so what is the throughput rate and latency time? I'm going to look at how the system scales when I increase the number of concurrent requests. I obviously have to look into my API request, OpenAI cost, etc., so on and so forth. So I am doing it for 3, 5, 10. And obviously, if you are doing and running these tests for a huge number of requests, so obviously you would want to go 100,000, 10,000, so on and so forth. Now, in order to run this test, what I've done is I have converted this entire Autogen, the third test that we did, writing a blog post, I've converted it into an API. Okay, so this can handle async requests. And then I've written a test script. With this test script, actually uses the async IO Python package to send concurrent requests to the endpoint that I've generated. And based on that, it captures all of these information: the throughput, average response time, median response time, 90th percentile response time, so on and so forth. So all of these statistics are going to be provided to me as the system scales from 3 to 5 to 10 concurrent requests. And this data I'm going to then take in to actually finally comment on which one of these frameworks scales better in the production environment. All right, so the results are here with me, and I know that I might not have done everything correctly, and this has more scope for adding asynchronous workflows, and I have to extensively add that in. But I've kept it same for both of these frameworks, and from the looks of it, Autogen, first thing is that I have cache enabled, so 3, 5, 10, because the request was the same. I was writing the blog post on linear algebra, so 5 and 10 they just ran very, very quickly. But I changed the number of requests, and if you look at fresh requests, so here you see testing with 5 concurrent requests for Autogen, it takes 41.89 seconds, and processing 3 requests take concurrently 45.68 seconds. So this system to a great extent is concurrent and is handling all these requests in similar time. Whereas when it comes to CrewAI, now in CrewAI, this is very different. The stats look very different. And the reason is primarily because it is slow, and obviously I might have to look at my code as well once again. But the numbers, as I can see, the system is not scaling well, and obviously there are like some, I think, API errors from OpenAI's end as well. But the system did not scale as well as it should have when it comes to processing all of those requests. So that was one thing. Obviously, there could be some other way of spinning up these things. Maybe API is probably not the right way, but I'm not sure. If you have a better way to test out which system would scale better in a production environment, do share it in the comments. I would really love to try that out as well. Okay, so that was my learning from this whole experiment. So let's put all of this together. All right, so here's the final report card for both of these. Let's fill this up together based on our experiences on each of these different parameters. Okay, so first of all, we started off with ease of setting up. So getting started guide, the documentation. So it's about all of those things. So I would say CrewAI, the documentation, I worked on multiple projects as well before this, and the documentation is not that helpful. Many a times it's incomplete. It leads to incorrect links also. So here, the documentation would need more work. So I would say this is functional but inconsistent. Then Autogen, I would say 4, because here also there's some scope for improvement. The getting started needs to be a little bit more explanatory and should tell you the potential of this framework. Tool calling, both of them I think were decent. It's very easy to get it started. Human in the loop, I think both of these frameworks allow you to take input from the user. With Autogen, it has been emphasized a bit more, but yeah, both allow you to, for any particular task, you can provide human input flag to true, and it'll allow you to do that. Customizations, CrewAI relies a lot on LangChain if you want to add more custom tools and search APIs and all of those other things. So here I would say Autogen is more flexible. Customizations are easier. So you'll know what is coming in, what is coming out of each different transaction or conversation. So here I would say that this is 4, even though Autogen has its own learning curve, but customizations in CrewAI, I think is a bit tricky for people to handle. Code execution is not supported as of now, as per my understanding. If I'm incorrect and if you have other ways, then let me know. I already have achieved code execution as well, but through other means in CrewAI, which I don't think should be part of the framework. I've done it separately. With this, I think Autogen has done a great job with this. Scalability, I would say CrewAI needs more improvement. So 3 and 4 over here. Speed, Autogen works better. I think Autogen is faster as well, although with API requests and other tools, etc. And if you're sending requests to OpenAI API or any other, Grok is different. Grok is faster. So speed, I would give both of them similar, but CrewAI being a little bit slower and it has more dependencies, I think CrewAI would be at 3 and Autogen would be at 4. Documentation, CrewAI definitely needs support. Autogen, it needs to be more structured, but whatever is there is still better than CrewAI. Quality of output, I would say, is same in both. So I'll add one more parameter here, which is learning curve. So here, I would say this is very easy, very intuitive for anybody to understand and get started with it. Autogen, you will need to spend some time, understand the terminologies, the kind of conversations, the kind of agents that you can develop. So there's some terminologies that you'll have to get a hang of, and then it'll be a smooth flow for you with Autogen. So this has been my understanding. Let me know if you agree with it or not. What's your take on this? But all in all, I would say CrewAI for simpler projects without any code execution. If scalability is not that big of an issue, but in production related applications, obviously it's going to be there. Autogen for more complex use cases. Code execution is great. So the scope of the type of application that I can build with Autogen actually widens up because of this capability. So complex use cases with code execution, Autogen. Simpler use cases getting started very, very quickly. CrewAI. So that's been the take. All right. So I hope you guys found this useful. And I would really love to, listen and hear your perspective on both of these frameworks, because I myself have struggled with this choice, and I ended up developing my entire application in the wrong framework, and then migrated it to Autogen because of the code execution capability. And that's why I wanted to make this video as well. If you'd like to see more such videos, please let me know in the comments, and like this video if you have found this useful. Share it and subscribe to the channel. That's the best way you can help me. And yeah, that's been it. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep learning and keep building with AI.